I walked into his. He had, what was it called? Out on Highway 31 is on the right-hand side.
The Midnight Lace.
Yes.
I've heard it's out there. I hadn't been by that.
Travis called me and said, "Hey, Sheriff, come on by and see me tonight when you headed out of town or whatever you're doing." I said, "Okay, I'll stop by and see you." Well, I'd never been in the place.
You didn't know what it was?
Yeah, I knew it was a strip joint. So I walk in, and just inside the door to the left, I realized there was somebody right next to me. And I turned really quick to the left, and there's this staring me in the face. And I'm going, "What?" Back.
Is it a lady?
Yes, she's on stage.
Oh.
And she's already stripped.
Oh, okay.
And the guys are, and I'm going, "What the hell?"
Yeah, this is my time right now. It's my time right now. Yeah, this is my time.
Welcome to another episode of East Texas Unfiltered. I'm J. Chad Parker. Today I've got a very, very interesting guest. I know I say that often, but I really mean it today. This was the sheriff of Smith County for 36 years. He's seen things, lived through things, and survived things, and he's here to tell us all about it. Your Sheriff, J.B. Smith. Thank you for being here, Sheriff.
My pleasure.
Now, I want to open up with the first question I ask you off camera. Is everybody knows you as J.B., right?
Yes.
I've never read any article that said what J.B. standed for. What does J.B. stand for?
It stands for James Bartley.
Now, was that someone in your family back in Arkansas, your father? Who was that?
That was from my grandfather. Just to give you a brief, Chad, I come from poverty, deep poverty. When I look around today and they talk about poverty and the woman's butt's this wide, and I'm looking at this laughing going, where's the poverty? We didn't have electricity till 1948. I was born in 1943. My entire life was in poverty in my younger years. I had absolutely nothing. We took a bath in a number 3 galvanized wash tub. We had sponge bath, not sponges. Hell, you didn't have sponges.
You had a washcloth?
You had an old washcloth, and there was a wash rag because there was no, it was the best we had, but it was real poverty.
I've read up on this, and I wanted to explore your early life a little bit because I don't see it's been explored other than you grew up in a small town in Arkansas. Is that right?
No, I basically grew up in the country south of a small town.
Okay.
And like I said, we had no electricity till 1948, so there was nothing.
Town was a too broad a word for where you lived.
Oh, yeah. There was a crossroads, but we didn't know we were poor because everybody around us was poor. We picked cotton, we raised everything we ate, everything, and in the summertime, Grandma would, there was 2 families living under one little small roof. She would can the food for the winter months. We raised hogs. Everything came from that hog, including making lye soap. Everything came from hog.
You guys literally didn't buy any provisions from a store at all?
I'll take that back. We bought flour and sometimes
to cook with.
And yes, that's what we bought was flour.
I read you never met your father?
Didn't know my father. He came into town in 1942 and impregnated my mother. My mother had 6 kids by 6 different men.
All right.
That's not a good base to be raised in. My stepfather was an alcoholic, full-blown alcoholic that let me know every day that I wasn't his. I used to hide from him at nights. He would come home from a sawmill, and he'd start drinking Four Roses, I think was the name of that old cheap whiskey back then.
Was it bootleg or was it actually
it was bootleg? And then he would... White lightning, but he was an alcoholic and he was very abusive. And I still to this day wear a few scars from that.
Well, that's got to be true. I mean, I can't imagine that environment, especially amongst siblings that I don't know. Were you close with those other siblings?
None.
Okay.
None. Had no relationship with them at all because I was the loner. The rest of them never left Arkansas. I was the only one. I always had a burning in my gut to say, get out of here. You got to get out of here. There was an old county judge, and he was injured aboard the USS Arizona in World War II when they bombed Pearl Harbor.
Is that the ship that sunk that's still there?
Yes. And his name was Rex Vick, and Rex was the county judge. And he told me one day, he said, boy, you've got a future, but you got to get out of here. You got to get out of here.
How old were you when you got out of Arkansas?
I left February the 10th, 1960, when I joined the United States Navy at 17 years old with an 8th grade education.
How did you enlist out in the middle of nowhere in order to join the Navy back then?
We had moved into town because my stepfather was working at the sawmill and he wanted to leave the country, so we moved into town. But I was just left alone to raise myself. All the kids were. We had no supervision whatsoever. We weren't encouraged to go to school. So I was by myself.
And you just quit going in the 8th grade?
I just quit going in the 8th grade and hung out for a couple of years there working. I worked at the Pastime Theater, which is the only theater in town, for $9 a week, 6 nights a week I worked. And then I got me a room at the Southern Hotel at 13 years old.
Where you lived?
Yes. And I washed dishes. You didn't have child labor laws in the 1950s.
CPS?
No. Good gosh. There was nothing. When you're in southern Arkansas.
I mean, you're in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere.
Did you have a television?
Not until probably I was 14 or 15. I saw television at the hotel, but they gave me a little room with nothing in it except I didn't even have a bathroom. I had to go down the hall to the bathroom and take a shower there or clean up. But they gave me a room, but I washed dishes at night for the hotel, and I carried luggage for the people checking in Warren, Arkansas. And it was...
Where is that in the state of Arkansas?
Well, I laughingly say you get on Interstate 20, you go east till you smell it, and then turn north till you step in it. It's if you go to El Dorado, Arkansas, it's about 35 miles northeast of El Dorado.
How did you know, or did someone tell you that, hey, JB, you maybe should join the Navy and you can get out of here?
The judge told me I just needed to get out of there, and he was in the Navy, and so I thought, this is my way out.
Was he a mentor to you?
Yes.
You didn't have one?
No, I had no mentors. I had nobody. But I always had that burning in my gut, Chad. That's the thing that drove me.
I got to get out of here.
I got to go. I got to go. There's something else out there, something somewhere. It's not here. And I didn't want to grow up like the rest of the people in that town. They had no future. They had nothing.
So you enlisted. You got on a bus, and what'd you say? What year was it?
February the 10th, 1960, when Vietnam was kicking off.
Okay.
It was kicking off.
Advisors were there.
They were taking anybody that could breathe. They didn't care. They just needed bodies.
You were smart enough to go in the Navy.
Oh, yeah. I didn't want to go in the Army.
Infantry?
Yeah, I didn't want to go in the infantry. You'd sleep on the ground. Hell, I had enough of that. I wanted 3 meals a day. I had to fight to eat.
What about your basic training? Where did they send you for
San Diego, California. Most of those guys in my company, when we were going through boot camp, were bitching and complaining about, I just can't believe it. And I'm thinking, this is the best I've ever had in my life.
Right. I mean, you had a house, you had clothes,
I had a
food.
roof over my head. I had food, 3 meals a day, Chad. Man, those guys were saying, this tastes like crap. And I'm going, yeah, it sure does. Yeah, give me some more of this crap.
And so after boot camp, I mean, are you assigned, are you sent somewhere or stationed somewhere?
I spent a year and a half in the fire department for the naval crash unit, aircraft crash unit at the Naval Air Station North Island in San Diego. And then they put me aboard the USS Bennington, an aircraft carrier. And Chad, they gave me, and I didn't realize it, didn't know this until just a few years ago, but that was the most dangerous job in the United States Navy, which is hook runner and catapults and rest of gear. I did that for 3.5 years.
Is that when a plane lands on the aircraft carrier?
Yeah, you're the hook runner. Daylight or dark, you run out. Of course, we had prop jobs during the Vietnam era. We did 2 tours of Vietnam. We had those old A3 Skyhawks, and they had props, huge props on them. Well, you had to know what you was doing or you'd walk into one of those props. We lost 2 guys that walked into props while we were in Vietnam.
How long were you in the service?
4 years.
And then you got out of the service, and you were there in San Diego, California?
In San Diego, and the only thing I'd been trained at was really to be a fireman, a fire department. So I got a job at back on North Island again in the fire department. And I kept thinking, I really always wanted to be a police officer. And I think it was that inside gut to do something to raise myself above the way I was raised. Just that burning. burning inside. And so I went to work for the San Diego Police Department, and I only spent about a year with them and realized you needed a better education
Than what you had at the time?
than what I had because I didn't have anything.
What are you saying? I needed better education to advance in the
Yes,
department?
of course. So I went back to the fire department. I went and sat with 16-year-olds and got my high school education. And then I went to Grossmont College and took a couple of classes and did a little better. But I always had the desire to come back to the southern part of the United States. It just wasn't the same out there. And I felt
Even
that.
back in the 1960s?
Oh, yeah,
I guess
yeah.
it was probably wilder in this.
67, 68.
Yeah.
That was when the hippie unit, I remember when we pulled into San Francisco from Vietnam on our first tour, there were people walking around with signs saying baby killers and
Right.
stuff like that. We thinking, what the hell are you people talking about? We haven't killed any babies. But you just let it go. I've always had the ability to let it go.
Yeah, I mean, you seem to, and we'll talk about this in a little while, but you seem to let people that have come for you, treated you poorly, tried to get you, whatever, not really stay with you and let it go.
Joe Tunnell said, and he was my mentor. He was a judge here. He defended me when I was really having a tough time. And I was talking about when all this is over with, I'm going after those bastards. And I'll never forget the words he said. He said, Sheriff, never pursue another human being with vengeance in your heart, or you have to dig 2 graves.
And, that was good advice, but hard to take at the time, I imagine it.
Sure. Vindictive. But you know what? Your enemies will self-destruct, Chad. They just do.
And that seems to have occurred in your case, and we'll also talk about that later.
Yeah.
But how do you get to Duncanville, Texas as a police officer?
I needed a job. I wanted to get back into the South. My sister, my half-sister, had moved out there.
Were you keeping up with any of those siblings at the time?
Only one. They never left Arkansas, and she only spent a small time in Dallas area, and she moved back to Arkansas with her husband and 2 kids. So she didn't stay up in that area long, but I was there long enough to go to work for the police department and the fire department again. I loved both of them. Public service, and it was a job, Chad, that I was proud of.
And it's regimented in a way?
Yes, and I was proud of me.
Like it was regimented in the military?
Yes.
There was chain of command?
Well, there's a lot of people in our society that can't operate without structure. Now, I'm not one of them, but I needed structure at that time. One of the reasons that 74% of the people booked into jail today, all across this nation, will be back in 24 months because they can't operate outside of structure.
Well, I know you've seen a lot of that, but you get to Duncanville, you have no connection to Tyler, Texas that I know of before this period of time, do you?
Drove through here accidentally.
And I mean, literally accidentally.
Just drove through here accidentally.
Probably on your way to Shreveport.
No, I was headed back to Arkansas for a visit, and I just came through Tyler, Texas, and I came up South Broadway, which there was nothing. The mall wasn't being built even then. And I passed Bergfield Park, and I thought, my God, this place is beautiful. It's clean. There's no trash on the streets. So I decided, well, I'm just going downtown. And I said, wow, this is really a pretty place.
Which would have been the square in what year?
This was 1969.
Okay, so 69, you're down at the square, the old courthouse that's been...
It was gone. It was gone. Then.
Right. I mean, it's the one we got now that's being torn down.
Yeah.
So you're looking around, and then how do you end up in the... you went to the Tyler Police Department.
I went to the Tyler Police Department. You've obviously done your research. I went to the Tyler Police Department, and there was one guy standing in the hallway, an older man. And I walked in, and I introduced myself, and he said, oh, my name's L.B. Odom. I said, well, nice to meet you, Mr. Odom. This is a great place. And he said, well, we're hiring. And I said, well, I have experience. And he said, we need you. And so I walked out, and he had given me the date that the civil service was going to have an exam at the Rose Garden. Found out he was the police chief. I didn't know it, so I passed all the tests, and they hired me.
And how many officers would they have in the Tyler Police Department back in 1969?
Well, I can tell you it was so small back then. that there were nights that I worked midnights that there was one officer in the north and one officer in the south.
That's pretty small. So how do you get from the Tyler PD to the sheriff's department?
I've always prided myself in going to school and trying to raise myself up. I was going to Tyler Junior College when I got here. I got my degree there and then went straight to the first Tyler State College, which became the University of Texas. But every time I would go book somebody in the jail, and by the way, the sheriff holds all the prisoners. That's federal prisoners locally, state, constables, PD, everybody. The sheriff is responsible for all the prisoners. It's the only jail. And every time I would go in, here's the sheriff sitting at the front desk with his big cowboy hat on, with a spit bucket to his right-hand side. And he, when you talk to him, he'd spit.
Looked like a character in a movie.
Oh, it did. Only that was a given here.
Yeah, right.
Almost every county in Texas, it was like that. And I thought, God, this is an insult to law enforcement. We tried to work with the deputies, and there wasn't but 4 or 5 of them. And they didn't keep reports. They'd have a homicide. Nobody wrote a report. Now, think about that.
I mean, what would the DA's office use to work?
Whatever they testified to. It was a different time. It was a different era. Things were just not like they are today. And so I always thought, God, he's insulting to my profession. He was a nice old man, but he needed to be replaced. And so one day I gave a speech at the Marvin Methodist Church.
In what capacity?
As the public information officer, because nobody else wanted that job.
For who?
Tyler PD.
Okay, you're still with the PD.
Yeah,
go give a speech.
And I talk about how to prevent crime. What do you do? How to light up the outside of your house, how to prevent prowlers, how to prevent if you break down, if you're a lady and you break down, you have a flat tire, what do you do? And I gave this speech I was very proud of because I'd researched it. And the sheriff got up and he talked about how tough he was having it. He can't get any money from the commissioner's court. And he just can't, it was just gloom and doom. And I thought, good grief. That is so insulting. He gave these people absolutely nothing to walk away with. Nothing.
And so you said, I'm going to join as a deputy?
So I made a comment in front of a county commissioner by the name of Roy Stanley.
Stanley's Barbecue?
No, Roy Stanley was a county commissioner for years and years. He was big into the unions. He was a big, solid Democrat. He pretty much represented the Democratic Party. And, of course, on a local level, in 1964 and 65, they went local Democrat all the time.
Right.
So I'll explain that to you in just a few moments.
Much different than today.
Yes. Well, I made the comment. I said, Roy, the guy just walked out of here and needed to leave these people with nothing except gloom and doom. He said, well, J.B., if you don't like it, you ought to run for it. You'd make a good candidate. And I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, you ought to run for the job. So I started doing my research. I found out, Chad, that Tyler, Texas had gone over 51% Republican on a national level since 1955. We were one of the 3 counties in Texas that went for Goldwater.
So that's why you ended up being a Republican?
Yes. I opened the door for the Republican Party here. And I was the first guy to run as sheriff for the Republican Party since Reconstruction.
What did you do between the time we're talking about? I guess you joined the sheriff's department, but you weren't elected for the first time.
No, I never joined the sheriff's department.
Okay, so you never worked for them.
I was still at Tyler PD, and they
all the way to the election in '76.
Yes, and they told me the police chief named Ronnie Malik, whose wife killed him, as you know. Ronnie Malik said, "You can't work here and run for sheriff," and I said, "Okay." So I went and talked to Wilton Fair. Do you remember Wilton?
I know the name. The
Fair Foundation.
Obviously, was very
wonderful
prominent.
man. And he said, if you run on a Republican ticket, as we discussed, he said, I'll give you part-time jobs to do between now and the election. And if you lose the election, you go back with the police department. So I cleared that with the police chief, and he said, if you lose the election, you come back to the police department. I did stuff. I hired a guy named Dana Adams.
The artist?
The artist, Dana Adams.
Yeah, his son was my age.
Dana Adams is probably one of the smartest individuals I ever met in my life when it comes to detailed advertisement. And we were sitting talking one day, and he said, JB, a politician is no different than a can of beans at a grocery store. Which one is advertised and the best? That's the one people are going to pick up. They're going to pick up Hunt's beans before they pick up X number brands.
Because they know the name?
Sure, they know the name. And he said, politicians are no different. Your job that you're running for office is no different. Dana helped me put together some of the greatest ads in the history of the Eastern District of Texas.
Were they newspaper ads?
Yeah, newspaper was big back then.
Right, and there wasn't really television advertising so much.
No, only had one station.
Right.
KLTV.
And the billboards, I don't know if that was a thing.
It was. But he's the one also that told me that billboards, those huge billboards, the average person has less than 5 seconds to read that billboard. So you never put more than 10 words on a billboard.
Well, yeah.
Now think about that.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean,
he said, don't put a bunch of crap on it.
Don't get hurt twice. That's 4.
Exactly. So he said, you keep your numbers down, and that way. So I did, and we raised money. I never had to pay a dime out of my own pocket. We raised that money because the Republican Party knew I had a chance.
And I guess there was this Republican Party that had money. They wanted to have some influence in the politics locally.
Yes.
And so they got behind you usually nowadays a guy's at least been a sheriff or in the sheriff's department before he runs for it. You didn't, you came out of the PD.
Yes.
Was that unusual back then?
Of course.
Because
usually they were good old boys.
that's what I was about to say. It's kind of a good old boy system, wasn't it?
There was very much so.
Uh-huh.
The guy that ran against Harlan Long, who was the sheriff, everybody knew that he had to be replaced. So a fellow by the name of Johnny Perdue, he owned an Alamo patio.
Yeah.
And his he was a nice man. But the minute he started running for office, he got him a big cowboy hat. And of course, he chewed tobacco anyway at the time. And he thought he had it made.
He didn't seem authentic. The cowboy hat was a kind of a prop for the election.
Yeah, but he was your typical good old boy, snuff dipping, tobacco chewing.
Any law enforcement experience?
He spent a couple of years with Tyler PD in the 50s.
All right.
So I ran on the fact that I was the most educated person to ever run for sheriff of Smith County. That was Dana's idea.
And people in Smith County, generally, juries and everything else today are a more educated, sophisticated bunch.
Of course.
Right?
Of course. And I knew that this was not a cowboy community. There's nothing wrong with cowboys.
That's
okay?
Right. But it wasn't.
Before I left office, I had 38 cows and 6 horses. Come on. But I didn't think that this world had to have a cowboy to run for public office. Tyler was so far above other places in East Texas. It had Tyler Junior College. This was the banking industry of the oil fields.
Right.
Was in Tyler, Texas.
And the hospitals?
Of course, the hospitals. This is where everybody come from all over.
They had manufacturing.
Everything. They had Tyler Pipe. They had Carrier.
Was Goodyear here at the time?
Yes, Goodyear was here. Kelly Springfield was who was here. So I knew we had a base. And I did things that nobody else had ever done running for sheriff. I got a name tag, and I wore a suit every day.
Just when you were seen out and about?
Yes.
Right.
7 days a week. I put on a suit and tie. I had a name tag. If I had a brown suit, I had a brown name tag with white, surrounded in white. The letters were white. I designed everything, and I stood in front. I remember on November the 2nd, I was of 1970. I was standing in front of Gibson's. Troop Highway.
Yep, right down from where Green Acres is.
Yes, I was standing at Gibson's. It was sleeting. It was nasty. It was cold, and I was cold. But Gibson said I could stand out front and hand out little cards. Nobody had ever done that, Chad. Nobody did those things back in those days. If you're a snuff-dipping cowboy, you can run for sheriff, and that boy's still wearing knickers. That's what they said about me.
Yeah.
And so this couple, a guy walks in, there's two women behind him. And he walks in, he takes my card, he looks at me and he goes, shh. He throws my card down on the ground right in front of me. And I said, well, thank you, sir. Thank you. And the girl behind him, obviously, was his wife, and she said, me and Mama voting for you. And I said, thank you. That's how I got in, was shaking hands, doing unconventional stuff that nobody else had ever done.
They call that grassroots today.
Yeah, well, yeah, now, and I don't know who the hell gets credit for it, but J.B. Smith's the one who started it.
What about the newspaper? Did they endorse you?
No. They didn't endorse anybody that year. It was an unusual election.
They didn't endorse, somebody local. Were you seen as an outsider of any kind running for office?
Oh, of course.
I mean, like, here's this guy, he hadn't lived in Tyler, and Tyler was kind of a clique community. There was a small group of families and people that had a lot of power or say.
Very much so. There was the Weisenbakers.
Royce Sr.?
Yeah, the Fairs, Isidore Rouge. A lot of old timers, People's Banks, Dub Ryder,
Bob Rogers.
These were the people that controlled Tyler, Texas,
because they had money.
Well, they were the financial capital of the Eastern District of Texas.
But were any of those supporting you in that initial campaign?
No. Well, Mr. Fair did, and there was Isidore Rouge did the strangest thing. I went to see him because I went to everybody.
I mean, you can't
Democrats and Republicans.
You can't have if you don't ask.
There's an old saying in sales: "Them that ain't asking ain't getting."
Yeah.
And I was asking. I was not humble. I would walk in and say, and so I walked in knowing Isidore Rouge was a big Democrat.
Right.
Isidore Rouge.
A lot of people were back then, weren't they?
Oh yeah. Well, on the surface.
Right.
He sat there and he just looked at me across that desk, and surprisingly enough, it didn't make me nervous. These were very wealthy people, but I was who I was, and I was confident in who I was. Always was. Not overconfident,
right.
Just confident in my ability to do this job. He listened to my spiel, and I told him, I said, we need a change. And he said, yeah, we do. And I got up and I said, thank you, sir. I want to thank you for your time. And he said, there's something on the floor over here. I said, do what? I walked around, he had a $100 bill on the floor, so he kicked it over towards me. He said, I don't know where that came from. You just found it. Think about this, Chad. This is the way it was in 1976. Okay? Long time ago. But he was supporting me. Hell, he voted for me. But he wouldn't tell people that because he was Mr. Democrat.
He doesn't seem like a guy, I don't know him. I knew his grandson, but he probably wasn't a big fan of the old tobacco spit and cowboy hat, right? Mr. Roos would have been Jewish. He would not have likely been a big fan of maybe the mentality of the sheriff at the time.
The majority of Smith County wasn't. I didn't carry, when the election was finished, I didn't carry the majority of Lindale and True and White House because a lot of these places were rural.
More country.
But I kicked their butts in Tyler, Texas. South Tyler came out in force for me. This guy that had beat hard and long in the primary as a Democrat went to Austin and told him he was the new sheriff of Smith County. And this guy named Billy at the academy at the DPS says, don't you have a Republican opponent? And he said, that's still a baby boy wearing knickers.
But you won.
Oh, I spanked him like a yard dog.
What do you think the percentages were in 1976 in that first election?
I don't remember. I know that here's a stat for you. 65% of Smith County has voted for me since 1976. I ran one time without an opponent, and I got 65% of the votes. I have no idea why the other 35% don't like me. But I had 65% is what I got. I had 5 opponents one time in the primary. See, I switched one time, and you know the story about a lot of this.
We still believe in J.B. Smith?
Yes.
That campaign?
Yeah, they got after me when the great drug bust happened
We're
in
getting
Tyler,
there,
Texas.
But I'll remember that. And as a kid, I remember thinking, it seems like he's a Democrat.
Yeah.
right in the We Still
Yeah.
Believe campaign.
Yes.
You enlisted the north side of town
Yes.
as a support
The
group.
black community is what put me back in office
Hmm.
in 1980.
That's what it looked like.
It did. They did. The Democrats, the blacks love me to this day.
I think they do.
I can take you with me and walk down to Walmart right now. I promise you we won't go down 3 aisles till some black person says, "Hey, Sheriff."
Do you think it's the way that you treated people running the jail?
No doubt.
Right. Maybe compared to people before you and even the police department as a contrast?
Well, I ran some surveys running the jail. And Chad, I've got thousands of stories, okay?
No, I know
There's
you do.
thousands of stories here that brought me through this world of turmoil. I found out in 1977 by running a survey in the jail that as high as 80% don't have a high school education. So I got a hold of the Texas Education Agency. I brought them in, and they started teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic, and how to pass the GED.
So that maybe when they got out, they wouldn't
When
come
they got
back?
out, yeah. And, I attempted.
Right.
I tried to
Did you
contribute.
meet resistance with that?
No one said a word about it. Surprisingly enough, there's so many things that I did. For example, I brought in AA into the jail because 85% on an average have an alcohol or substance abuse problem of some sort. 85%. That's a real high stat.
Right. I mean, there's got to be some correlation from that and being in the jail.
Yes, because so many of them had alcohol problems, so many of them. And we tried to help them through AA. Whether it helped or not, I don't know, because we don't have stats on the success. We only got stats on the failures.
That's right. Now, are you meeting any resistance? Let's say you get elected, you start off as the sheriff in 76, and you're going forward in your first term. Are you getting any resistance? Are you noticing any potential political opponents or enemies out there?
Chad, I never did. I can't even remember those opponents. I'm sure I had some.
Well, I just didn't know if you knew somebody was against you from the start when you won.
Oh, yeah. But I've never wasted my time with my enemies. I never have been one of those that thinks about the negative crap in life. I've always, and it's just in my DNA. Where did I get it? I don't know, because I didn't know my father. But I've never, ever, I'm always looking down the road as to what I can do better and do it, with more.
Would you say you had good instincts?
It was my instincts. I didn't learn that from anybody.
Right. That's what I'm hearing you say.
It's something that was inside of me. Still is today. Hell, I'm still at 82 years old thinking, what can I do tomorrow? How can
Well, I mean, you seem to enjoy life and kind of embrace it even to this day, huh?
Oh, man. And I learned something, and I never heard it quoted until recently. If it is to be, it's up to me. I've never had anybody say, come on, JB, you can do this. Come on, man. You need to go get an education, do this. I just had that instinct inside of me that said, okay, dumbass, you raise yourself up. Keep coming up. And I've done that all my life. Still doing it today. I heard a guy say one time, how did he say it? You can't soar with eagles if you squat with buzzards.
I mean, those are good phrases and life lessons to you, I'm sure, in them. I'm trying to get us into your first term. Johnny Bedingfield, now he was with you a long time.
Johnny was with me a number of years.
And did he work at the police department?
Yes. Johnny saved my life in North Tyler.
Did you bring him to the sheriff's department with you?
No. Johnny had quit the police department and was driving a truck for Southern because they paid a lot of money. I mean, they were paying unbelievable salaries to the truck drivers. Johnny saved my life in North Tyler one time when I got into a shootout up there, and he shot the guy that was trying to kill me.
Was he a deputy sheriff at the time?
No, he was Tyler PD.
Okay.
We were both Tyler PD. So I felt like I owed something to Johnny, and Johnny had good organizational skills. So he helped me pull that agency back together again after they kicked me out. I was in and out for 2 years.
Right. But he came in during that time frame or after you were put back in for the last time?
I hired him the day I came back.
Okay. All right. So Johnny's later. Because, when you think about the sheriff's department, if you've lived here your whole life, besides you think Johnny Bedingfield and Bobby Gorman,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Was Bobby, your tip of the hat to the black community
No.
in a position of power, but for them supporting you the way
No.
they did?
I never promoted anybody because of their race. Never.
How did you know? Was Bobby already in the sheriff's department?
No, but I gave a speech in Wood County many, many years ago, and Bobby Gorman was working for the Mineola Police Department. And he had such a great attitude, Chad.
No, he did. He
was
was very
laughing,
likable.
laughing all the time, and the guys are, excuse me, riding his butt about him being a token black, and and Bobby just laughing with them. And I thought, I need that man, and I hired him.
And so,
I offered him a job that day.
I mean, in the hierarchy of things for a lot of your career, was it you and Bobby and Johnny that were kind of at the top?
Yes.
Because through the years, that's kind of what I saw the sheriff's department as. And both those guys were with you a long time.
Oh yeah, Bobby was with me a total of about 34 years.
Well, it's funny.
Years.
We're getting to the controversial years here. All right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to call those the Smith County Justice years. Okay. Because that's the name of the book.
Yeah.
And the reason I mentioned Bobby is because I had seen Bobby's name in the book. Like, when that stuff came up with the Casa de Oro, the check-in passing and all that stuff, Bobby's name is written in the book, is somehow involved. So is he at the department at that time?
Yes. I hired Bobby out of Mineola, as I told you. But he came to me as a patrolman working the streets, and his attitude was so good that I steadily and moved him up the ranks to sergeant, lieutenant, captain, and then finally my chief. Yeah. But it was all because of his attitude and his ability to get along with the public. What a magnificent man. He's probably one of the. Did you know I've never heard any cuss words come out of that man's mouth?
And for back in Tyler, I would think that Bobby faced maybe some prejudice, some racism.
Of course.
You can
racism, even within our own department.
Right. I could see people cussing him. I could see people envious of his promotions. I could see people getting arrested or whatever, calling him horrible things.
Well, I can quote one of the things that happened. We had a lieutenant. When I decided to promote Bobby from lieutenant to captain, he said, "I ain't working for no." I said, "You're fired." He went out the front door. His last name was Miller, and somebody turned around and said, "It's Miller time." But Bobby took the criticism, he took the abuse, and he was such a good, and still to this day is such a good man.
Yeah, because it'd have been tough, to be in Bobby's shoes and not want to, push back, talk back, fight back, right when people were treating you poorly or really engages in straight up racism, right?
Yes.
And I guess he was a huge benefit for your department with that attitude, I'm assuming.
Oh, he was good for everybody. The entire I have never heard a negative word about Bobby Gorman in this community. I just never have.
I haven't either. And I think he helped bridge, a gap in a way between the department and other communities, both communities, really.
Yes, he has.
I mean, I think South Tyler people knew Bobby Gorman and liked him as much as anybody. Did you get that feel too?
Sure. Bobby, I took Bobby with me on numerous occasions when I go somewhere because of his attitude again. Bobby's attitude is everything in life. He is a prime example. He came from a very poor background in Jasper, Texas.
Yeah, I mean that you can't get much poorer than that.
He worked at an ice house while he was going to high school. He built up a heck of a body. He played football also. And he built up of course, he had a good reputation in the community down there. When you go back, they still respect the entire family. The whole family had attitudes like his. It's in his DNA, Chad. He's just a good man. Basically, look in the dictionary, and a good man is Bobby's picture, because that's just the kind of guy he is.
So, as I tried to understand, me being born in 1967 and being, 10, 11 years old when these things started to happen with the Tyler Police Department, which, they made a movie about it called Rush. Did you watch that movie? Never watched it. But the players were, Craig Adams, Kim Ramsey, whatever, and they're Tyler Police Department narcotics agents, right? They don't work for the sheriff's department. They're not employed by you, and you probably might not even know them.
We didn't even know they were here. They hired them out of Plano, Texas. At some point in time, that's the information I got.
This was Willie Hardy,
Yes.
the police chief,
yes.
when did he become the police chief?
I don't remember that.
After you were elected as sheriff?
Yes.
Now, bringing these agents from Plano to be undercover narcotic agents, is this something that the police chief that you've learned thought of his own, or is this people in the society wanting some kind of crackdown on drugs, or where's this coming from?
No, that didn't come from society.
Like, I mean, there weren't wealthy people in Smith County that were not wanting drugs to be, getting all over the place in Tyler.
Well, let me give you an example. Just kind of bring it in perspective here. They didn't work with me at all. I knew nothing about them being here. I knew nothing about their undercover work. I knew nothing, period, until one night when the jailer called me and he said, "Hey, Sheriff, Tyler PD's bringing in a lot of people, booking them in on narcotics violations, and we need help bad." So I called up some of my deputies, brought them in off duty. One of them was Royce Weisenbaker Jr.
Right, I know that.
And Royce, he walking up to me in the hallway, and he looked at me and he said, and he was with his dad. He said, "Sheriff, I've done drugs. I've done cocaine." He said, "I've done it all. But I ain't never sold shit to nobody because I got lots of money. Right. I don't have to sell nothing."
Right. Why would he ever want to be selling drugs?
Well, sure. And he said, "They framed me."
And the entrapment case comes up in Royce's situation where somebody
and
just
Royce Sr. didn't say a word. He didn't say a word. But I knew right then there was a problem. I knew that.
Something was happening because a lot of people were being brought into the jail for narcotics charges. And then you saw someone who you knew was not the profile to be selling drugs.
No, he didn't need to. This man is a multi-millionaire.
Right. Probably one of the wealthiest people.
One of the wealthiest families in Smith County at the time.
Okay, so you've got control of the jail, and people are being booked in, and I'm assuming they're being bonded out, right?
Oh, yeah, I made sure that they were bonded out immediately because, we didn't put them in jail. We booked them in. We had to do that because the PD was bringing them in.
Did you call the police chief or somebody and say, "Hey, what's going on here? Like, what's happening?"
The police chief walked in down there and looked at me and smiled. He just gave me this smile.
What was this about? Why was he happy about this?
Well,
in your opinion,
he had this grin that he still has today. And
is he still alive?
Yeah, he's still alive.
Does he live in Tyler?
Yes.
And so had you and he crossed paths before this grinning down at the courthouse?
I worked for him at the Tyler Police Department.
Okay, was he the police chief then?
No, he was a lieutenant.
All right, so you knew him.
Yes.
He's grinning. Something's going on. Does he ever tell you, like, "Hey, we've got a real drug problem here"?
Never said a word to me about it. Nothing. Zero. I received no information from the Tyler Police Department.
All right. And then, as the story goes, the two narcotics agents were shot, allegedly by a man named Ken Bora.
Yeah.
Right? A nightclub owner, a drug seller, whatever. That's what they called it. And then that's what set this whole thing off, as I understand it, right? The prosecution of Ken Bora and then the case against him for shooting the narcotics agents, right?
Yes.
Is this the first time your department, because this was outside the city limits?
Yes.
Your deputies responded and were there in a few minutes from what the book says.
Yes.
And I always wondered, how could they be asked to ID? And they weren't asked to ID. They were asked to say, what did Kim Ramsey say initially about who she saw?
Chad, that period of time,
you tried to forget it.
Yeah, because I try to forget bad stuff, but their stories didn't match.
Right. And your deputies, ultimately, two of them testified that they weren't sure. She said, "I'm not sure who it was." And the prosecution at the DA's office and the PD was trying to indict and
Kenneth Bora.
Kenneth Bora.
Yeah.
Did you know Kenneth Bora in any way, shape, before?
No, I never until the big drug bust came about. I met him a couple of times. He's always a nice guy. Of course, Ted Bundy was a nice guy.
Right. I mean,
But
you got to look past appearances sometimes.
But he's run a good business. I checked with the Texas Alcohol Beverage Commission. They wouldn't have any problems with him.
He had some nightclubs, one or two.
Had two of them, to the best of my knowledge.
I mean, I looked it up and tried to find the name. It said like Point 21 Club, and I was like, I've never heard of this.
Well, one of them was at Beckham and Fifth Street on the left-hand side going east.
Is that where the Light Lab and all those?
Well, it's now owned by University of Texas Health.
Right.
That whole area.
No, I know, but is it that strip center right there? Okay.
Yes.
And so from there, the story goes that Craig Matthews was a bar back or something with a bartender. And it was from that bar that they were, starting to sell or make cases against people. And these people a lot of them were people in Tyler families that had money, right?
Yes.
And I would think that would really, discombobulate the city when that started to happen.
It did. And especially people of Weisenbaker status. The Weisenbaker family was well respected, especially Senior. He was a shrewd businessman. They had oil wells, gas wells, water companies, and they still do. The family still owns them. Royce was always just a crazy kid. But, I mean, he just was.
Well, right. I mean, he had a lot of money growing up. He probably didn't have to work, those kind of things.
And again, it was a different era in Tyler, Texas. It was just, the attitude was different about life in general. But
you got indicted, though.
Oh, yeah.
Now, how many weeks or months did you get indicted after your deputies testified that Kim Ramsey, the narcotic agent, wasn't sure who shot him?
Okay. Let's back up. While this trial is going on, when they're prosecuting these supposedly narcotics offenders, an assistant district attorney by the name of Tom Dunn, who we just buried recently.
Right. He was a judge after that.
He was a judge after that. Tom walked into the restroom on the second floor, and Matthews was shooting up. This is the narcotics officer was shooting up in the bathroom. Now, I know this for a fact. This is not hearsay, okay?
This is what Tom told you.
I have heard this from Tom Dunn's mouth. And he has no reason to lie to me. But he took that to the district attorney and said, we got a problem here. You got a dirty narc in there that's shooting up. Well, I don't know what was said. He never told me. If he did, I don't remember. But he knew that they had problems. That's why Tom quit the DA's office, is over that situation. He went into private practice, and because he knew you had dirty narcs. Another interesting fact for you that the public does not know that is not in that book is one of the narcotics officers, and I'm not going to say his name because he's still in Smith County, but he was kind of outside that little clique, but he was undercover. He was instructed to plant cocaine in my car. He told me that. Now, can you get a grip on that? Think about that, Chad.
Okay, now why is this after that first Ken Bora trial that this happened? I mean,
yes, all of this is after.
Okay,
after all, and that
this is what you call a retaliation.
Yeah, much so, very much so.
Yeah,
because I'm trying to straighten things out here. And I never got on the stand and objected to anything they were doing. I'm just trying to survive. The political arena is hell. It can be hell.
Right. I mean, it's a contact sport, but a sheriff is normally not someone that there's a real focus on. It's usually more representative. Somebody's got some more outside political power, right?
Oh, of course. And
I mean, you're a sheriff, not to say that's not something, but usually people aren't fighting like this over the sheriff.
No. But the district attorney and one of his assistants.
Did you have any kind of relationship, bad or good, with them before the trial of Ken Bora, the first one?
It was just a relationship. It was professional.
Okay,
They prosecuted my cases. I never certainly didn't go to lunch with them. I never was invited.
And after your deputies didn't confirm or support the theory that Ken Bohr was the shooter initially from Kim Ramsey,
Right.
did that relationship change? Did you feel a change?
Oh, you could feel the coldness. You know, they wouldn't. There was no speaking to us. If it was, they just look at you, go like this.
Well, I'm just, I'm thinking about Tyler. I'm thinking about some wealthier kids being caught up in this. I'm thinking about Hunter Brush as the DA. Is he not catching some heat for the maximum sentences that are potentially coming because the first trial resulted in life imprisonment?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the first person tried in Smith County, as I read, was caught with an ounce of cocaine and received a life sentence.
Yeah.
Dick Granger tried the second case and got a not guilty and brought out that Craig Matthews was a drug user and potentially, was using while making these cases. And then the whole thing fell apart from there.
Oh, of course. That's why I respect Dick Granger so much.
Well, he was a great lawyer.
He was a great lawyer.
And I had, the pleasure of being a friend of his and talking to him within a couple of weeks before he died. But,
he was an honest man.
His career, he did everything. I mean, he was a great civil lawyer, but it's funny, he walked that first case that unraveled that whole thing, right? And then all those cases went away because those narc agents pled guilty to perjury and some other charge, I think.
It was, they just disappeared. They did it the best they could to get. Hunter Brush survived that. Of course, he would never have survived an election. Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering, like, with Weisenbaker's son being trapped up in that and other people from Tyler being caught up in that, I'm surprised, Brush was going through with that in the way Tyler is.
Yeah, and he had a couple of assistants helping him.
But why? What was his motivation when usually in Tyler?
That's a good question.
You're trying to go along to get along.
Chad, that's a good question. I have no idea. All I know is you had a police chief, city manager, a district judge that was an alcoholic. All of these people were in this little basket together, protecting each other and going after the same thing. The judge was just doing what he was told to do, okay?
You're talking about Calhoun?
Yeah. Well, I hate to say that, but yeah.
Well, right. I mean, if you read the book and if you read Wikipedia, it's all public record, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
And then it leads to what happens is you get indicted, right?
Well, they took out after me because they wanted to get rid of me.
Right. And
they had to get rid of the guy that knew too much.
And it was something like misappropriation of gasoline and stuff for the car.
Hell, they indicted me for driving a county car for personal use. Mm-hmm. And I was dating a girl in Shreveport, Louisiana, and I went over to see her. They indicted me for the use of the tires.
Right,
they
and the
indicted
gasoline.
me for the gasoline. I mean, it's so stupid. And bless his heart, Joe Tunnell, I didn't have any money. I ran out of money.
Right, I wondered how because, I mean, one of those cases after that went to the Supreme Court that I saw. That is, and this, no, I'm not talking about that initial case. I'm talking about the removal case.
Yes.
Right? I mean, there was the misappropriation of funds case that it looked like they removed you without giving you notice.
Correct.
Is that right?
Correct. And that's why you'll never hear me criticize William Wayne Justice. You hear some of these.
I know. He was the judge.
That's the guy that saved J.B. Smith.
It looks like it.
He put me back in office. He saw it for what it was, malicious prosecution.
He's always for the little guy, and he deems you the little guy.
But he liked me, evidently, for some reason.
Well, he didn't like what he saw going on.
He did not like what he saw going on at all.
And he ruled that it was a violation. It was a retaliation.
Malicious prosecution.
Yeah. And so it looks like they appealed it, this, that, and the other. But after that, you were never indicted again, and that was the end of it, right?
Well, they never indicted me again. I got reelected. I ran my campaign about, hey, I'm still here.
Yeah, but I'm saying once you beat that initial onslaught, you were almost a man that was untouchable in a way, politically, right?
Well, I would like to think so. My ego says that.
You saw supporters contributing that had been detractors prior.
Yes, I had plenty of support from this community, and mainly because I let the people see me for who I am. Now, Have I had weaknesses? Do I have had problems? Biggest weakness in my life has always been women. I love women.
And you say that.
I adore women. I adore women. And you'd think I wouldn't, having a mother that had 6 kids by 6 different men. You'd think that I had, that I would not be this way. But, I am what I am. And it's in the genes there somewhere.
Well, what do you think about this? Do you think it has anything to do with, just looking for approval as a young person, a young boy, and not really having someone there, male or female, to get...
I didn't have anybody. And I couldn't, when you come from the wrong side of the tracks, figuratively speaking.
But approval from women in your mind, that's love, that's affection.
That's affection.
And that's something, care. If you've never had it, you crave it, right?
That's correct.
And you say that, hey, that's just how I was, right? For whatever reason, that's it, right?
I mean, you'd stop. I spend I have no hobbies. I don't hunt, I don't fish, and I don't play golf. The only hobby I have is, I call it assing around. I get in a car and I go driving. I just go driving.
Even to this day?
To this day.
And
did it this
do you have any intention in mind when you're assing around?
Nothing. I just like to drive and think.
Yeah.
And so no radio on. I can drive from here to back to Arkansas and never turn the radio on. I just drive along and think. And that's probably been the best. Some people call that, your names for it, but
decompression. You're just kind of meditating or whatever.
Meditating,
whatever you're doing.
Just thinking,
getting your thoughts together.
And so it takes a while for you to pull yourself together and say, why are you where you're at? How did you overcome poverty? How did you overcome these desires that to do something else? Where did this fire come from in your gut? That's hard to figure out. And as
survival instincts.
Sure. I think it's what it is. If I ever wrote another book, it'd be called Running from Arkansas. Because that's what I've been doing all my life, is running from Arkansas.
Well, some people are too honest about themselves. Would you agree?
I agree with that completely.
You may be one of them?
There's some people, yeah. There's been oftentimes I don't have a barrier. I just say what I think.
We call that unfiltered.
Yeah. I just,
hey, you can be as unfiltered as you'd like, because you're on that podcast.
Yeah. I just never have. I've been one of the guys, when you spend 36 years with a newspaper looking up your dress every day, those people would take and they crucified me every time they got a chance. Now, why? I don't know.
That's what I was going to get to.
But the Clyde family hated my guts.
And what do you think the origin of that was?
I think it's because I stood up to Calvin Clyde one day.
Who was the owner of the newspaper?
He was the owner of the newspaper. And he said something to me that I didn't like, and I told him I was running the sheriff's office, that I'm going to do it honestly, and I'm going to do it the way I'm supposed to do it. He took in after me. They would plant 2 reporters at my newspaper, in my office. They would go through all of my reports every day.
Just to see if there was something.
Just to see any scandal they could find. Any. They had a scanner in their reporters' cars. And they were on duty 24/7. If anything happened, those reporters showed up, Chad. I remember numerous times.
But they had no content back then. Like, it was hard for them to generate content. So if they got after you, they're just thinking there's content here.
An example. One time I had a sergeant that had an affair with a dispatcher.
Yeah, this is one of those personnel issues that, as the sheriff, you
had to handle. Newspaper got wind of it. It was on the front page 3 days in a row. They would just change one sentence. They'd change one sentence.
What was the point of that article?
Crucify me.
Like you were running a poor department?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
The scandal in the sheriff's office.
You didn't have, controls in place to avoid this or something.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I still think to this day, the newspaper was in bed with the Tyler Police Department during those times. I think that. I'll never not think that.
Did you see stories that ever heightened that suspicion? When all this blew up, they didn't pursue that like they pursued me. Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Did you look at the coverage of the police chief, the narcotics agents, the DA's office versus the coverage of yourself and say, it doesn't seem like it's adding up for what happened.
No. I mean, there's no comparison between those things. I never did anything illegal. Never. Immoral? Probably yes, because I'm a young guy, single, running the roads, and I
Right.
love women. I like to dance. And so I've been seen in a honky-tonk dancing, but I've never been seen drunk. I just never had over one beer. One.
Were you aware that there were eyes on you?
Always.
And so you had to be careful what you did.
Always. But I enjoyed dancing, and I enjoyed femininity. And so I don't pull back. That's not against the law.
Did you feel like the Tyler PD might be watching you
Always.
for a DWI?
They were always watching me.
Okay, so you really, I mean, if you went somewhere, you'd be looking around to see if
Looking over your shoulder constantly.
and did that continue?
And it even filtered over into DPS. There was a guy by the name of Brown. That was a DPS trooper, hated my guts.
And
I don't know why.
You never knew why.
Never knew why. So I go to Longview one night to the Rio Palm Isle.
Yeah.
And I go dancing. I didn't have a drop to drink. I had a Coca-Cola. I get in my car. I'm headed home. He stops me on Interstate 20.
Did you ask
Gets
him?
me out of the car. I
What's
said, what's your problem? You been drinking? I said, no. Well, you were doing 5 over. I said, okay, write me a ticket. Let's go for it. He wrote me a ticket for 5 over. This is the sheriff of Smith County. So I get back and I take the ticket to DPS. I captain out here. And I said, I just want you to know I'm going to pay my ticket, okay? Because I'm 5 over speed limit. But my policy is we don't write tickets till 10 over. And I thought DPS did the same thing. The captain never made any comment about it, but he took that ticket. He said, let me have the ticket. Brown was transferred. He was just, why the guy had a vendetta against me because I wasn't having an affair with his wife. I never said any 3 words to his wife or daughter or anybody else. I don't know why the guy had it in it for me. But, people get these grudges and they have to have
And they just say, I don't like J.B. Smith. They don't really know why.
They don't know why. Who knows why?
You were polarizing for whatever reason, right?
Evidently.
Like you said, 65 for, 45 against, no matter what.
But you have to be visible to be in the political arena, regardless of what it is.
Right. I mean, you can't. There's no winning.
You just recently you interviewed our congressman. He's smart enough to know that there are thousands of people watch this podcast. Okay, he's smart enough to know that. He's smart enough to know that. The man does a good job, and if he doesn't let the people know it, how are they going to vote for him? And why should they vote for him if they don't know he's doing a good job? Same way with being the sheriff of the county. I laughingly tell people, I couldn't track a bleeding elephant in the snow, okay? But I surrounded myself with people that knew how to track.
You weren't a real lawman. You were kind of a delegator.
I was a figurehead. I was the face of the sheriff's office. And as my department, when I took that office, I had 28 employees and 58 prisoners. When I left it 36 years later, I had 355 personnel and 1,100 prisoners.
Which is that's a big outfit to
huge
take care of.
I went from my first budget in 1976 was $550,000.
And the last one was what, 27 million?
27 million, I think it was. Yeah, 28.
Did the opponents in the police department or the paper, did it ever get to a point where they kind of quit investigating you?
No, I was almost, the last 4 terms when I announced I was retiring. And plus, at that period of time,
all of the investigation stopped.
It was just amazing. All those articles stopped. But what happens, Chad, is you can overkill.
And they overkill.
You know that. From going to trial, you can overkill if you're not careful.
You can hurt a witness so bad that people start feeling bad for the witness.
Of course. And that's what the newspaper did to me. They overkilled this country boy that was trying to do a good job. And all they did was talk about my running around with women and going dancing. And I mean, come on, find something a little better than that. But they couldn't.
They thought maybe that would contrast you from a conservative community where maybe they would say, well, he shouldn't be in here.
And the deal is, I never denied it.
Right. I mean,
they say, I remember.
I got you. And you go, I told you.
I was on the stand. Hunter Brush says to me, I understand you were honky-tonking in Shreveport, Louisiana. I said, yes, I did. He said, you did? I said, yeah, I did.
I mean, what's the
What's the problem? And so they overkilled me. And the public is
Saw
not
it.
stupid. The public knows when you're being overkilled.
What about your relationship to Hunter Brush? He decides not to seek election back then, right?
Yeah.
And then, but he still practices law, and you see him around the community. How was that relationship? I mean, was it icy?
Surprisingly enough, I never saw him afterwards.
Never saw
Never
him,
laid an eye on him.
really, because
No.
he had to take on a private practice, and
Yeah.
I'd see him around.
Now, remember what I said. You never pursue somebody with vengeance in your heart. You have to dig 2 graves. I left him alone and let him self-destruct. He died poor.
He did.
Yeah.
What about
And you know what's really sad? He has a daughter that's absolutely wonderful. She is just one of the greatest people in our community. But I don't think she really knew him. I don't think a lot of people knew the horrible things that man did, the conniving, the vindictiveness that he had.
other than what he did to you? Do you think that office prosecuted, overcharged,
No doubt in my mind.
did things to people that went to the penitentiary?
No doubt in my mind.
All right. And so that's if you're a person who tries to be fair and just, that's inconsistent with the way things should be, for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was always conscientious about that. Listen, you don't have to treat prisoners, for example, like trash. Some of those people
Are simply charged and not convicted.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They're not convicted. And I have seen numerous people over the years that's not been convicted, that the evidence wasn't there. Heck, some of my own cases has been dismissed because there wasn't enough evidence. And so, I mean, the court system is the best in the world that we have.
Compared to anything
else that I've ever seen.
But it's not perfect.
Of course not. And neither, as human beings.
It relies on the honesty of those involved in the process.
You got it. I remember, you remember a lawyer by the name of Weldon Holcomb?
Oh, yeah.
Weldon
The candy man.
The candy man. Weldon, one day my lip was hanging down. I was sad because the newspaper wouldn't give me good coverage off of something I did really positive. I did something really great. And I called him in and had a press conference, and they didn't even put it in the paper. Now, if it had been a dispatcher having sex with a sergeant, it'd have been on the front page.
Mm.
But I did something really good for the community. And I had a lip hanging down, and I told Weldon the story. I said, I just don't understand. He said, Sheriff, the most perfect man in history was Jesus, and his own people killed him. He said, you're not so special. And I walked away thinking, damn, he's right. What's my problem? I got a different outlook on life. But there's a million stories that has happened, not a million, but there's just so many stories that has happened in my tenure as the sheriff of the county. I've seen so many things happen.
I mean, you've probably done a lot of people in this county a favor or two along the way, whether it be just check on somebody they knew that was in the jail, or not anything that was, illegal or immoral, but just showed a little more level of concern for what they were worried about, and they remembered it.
Well, could I give you an example about how the sheriff in today's society, law enforcement, if they come into your home and they see you doing something wrong, they have probable cause to arrest you, they do it, regardless who you are. That's just the way it is. They got body cams. They have to do these things. When I was a sheriff, I didn't wear a body cam. We didn't have them back in those days, of course. I'll give you a quick story. I love stories. So I get a call one night from a heart surgeon in Holly Tree, and him and his wife are having a fight, and she hit him upside the head with a skillet, drew blood. So I didn't send my deputies. He didn't call the police department. He called J.B. Smith. So I went to his house. This is a heart surgeon, okay? He's got blood coming down the right-hand side of his head where his wife hit him in the head with an iron skillet. She's sitting over in the corner with her arms crossed, and he's on the couch. I look, as I walk in, I smell marijuana. And I thought, uh-oh. I look on the table in front of the doctor, and there's 2 joints out in the ashtray. Now, The law enforcement side says, you know what it says.
Yeah, I mean, hey, there's I've got probable cause here. I
Yeah,
see
of
some
course.
drugs.
But you know what I did? I left it because this man was a heart surgeon that saves lives every day.
And there, sometimes, what's the benefit of that, right?
Well, what would I have accomplished?
Right, that's
what
what
would
I'm
I
saying.
have accomplished? He was depending on me to help straighten out
And
the
he
problem.
called you because
So
he trusted
I
you.
separated the two of them. I took his wife with me. We left. I took her to her sister's house, and they sobered up the next day, and everything went back together. And they're still married today. They live in Dallas. They're not here anymore. I had, there's been these things that have happened that you don't just have to go by the letter of the law. It's all in making a proper decision.
Right. I mean, some might say the spirit of the law is more important than the letter of the law.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely. And there's been numerous times when we should have put people in jail. And the liability's there. Sometimes if you don't, if they're drunk, but if they're in their own house, come on. I mean, give me a break. They're in their own house.
You're an old schooler.
I'm an albatross. These people don't exist anymore in law enforcement.
Not many, do they?
No.
There's too many, the body cams, the rules, the protocols, the fear of getting fired if they don't do. There's all of that.
And the liability of what they're doing now. If they don't do it, the liability is tremendous.
City gets sued. Their insurance policy goes up, premiums go up, all of that.
I lived in a different world, and I'm really glad. I lived in a world where I could make proper decisions without going by the letter of the law.
As I researched as much as I could find about you, I found it strange in 2011 you were still battling ethics commissions that I assume were being investigated by the Tyler paper still.
They stayed after me. Here's an interesting story for you. I had a retired FBI agent tell me about 10 years ago. I met him. He was retired, and we met at the Potpourri House. And I remember it so well. He walked up to me and he said, J.B. Smith, and I called his name. I said, yeah, good to see you. He said, J.B. Smith, I'm going to tell you in front of my wife and your wife, you are undoubtedly the cleanest son of a bitch I've ever investigated. He said, you don't do nothing. He said, I have investigated you time after time after time after time because of the newspaper and because of other people jealous of you, constables.
What was his job? Why would he be doing that?
Because they investigate anything that could be a federal law. I got accused one time. I used to be a professional speaker. I traveled all over the world speaking for the United States government. I was the keynote speaker for the Navy SEALs returning from Afghanistan.
That's after your retirement?
No, I was still sheriff when I was
I know
doing
you started it then, but I didn't know.
I started it. And they accused me of taking, somebody called the newspaper, and it was one of my ex-opponents, and accused me of taking, and they called the feds, not the newspaper, and accused me of taking money underneath the table and not reporting it to the IRS.
Like maybe somebody paid you in cash at a speaking gig and you didn't report it.
So the IRS investigated me.
They did?
Yes.
You got audited?
Yes.
And you knew that was directly...
They sent special agents from out of this community, from Dallas, to investigate me. And I found nothing. There was nothing.
And, and that was later on in time, wasn't it?
Yes. And so, but he said, you've got to be the cleanest guy I have ever investigated. He said, I've investigated you numerous times, and you don't do nothing wrong. Every I's dotted, every T's crossed. I said, well, of course it is.
But you got used to that because of...
Of course I did, because of the newspaper. The newspaper taught me a really good lesson right up front. Make sure that you're covered in everything you're doing, and make sure there's witnesses to it. Make sure there's a paper trail of it so that you can cover yourself.
Because when I looked at that ethics commission thing, it really just looked like a bookkeeping error. And I thought, wow, why is anybody putting any energy into this in 2011 against J.B. Smith?
Because I had enemies that hated my guts. And Chad, I don't know why. I don't know why.
Did those enemies ever change throughout your career from the beginning and towards the end? Was it still the paper, or was it some other group, political grassroots or somebody who had arisen kind of as a
Oh, yeah.
counterbalance to.
Well, Joanne Fleming and Sharon Emmert, the two that call themselves the balance of the Republican Party. It's the biggest joke. Everybody around is so, they nicknamed Joanne Fleming Bubbles. Okay, let's just get up front with this.
They ran
call-
Larry
because
Craig
she's-
out.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. They got a good man beat for the
Right.
county judge because of them. But here's what makes them so successful. They're so hateful and so negative that's all they concentrate on is this hateful, negative world, and they're just negative dealers.
What are they hoping to accomplish in your mind?
They want to control.
I mean, what is it? I mean, they target the spend. Do they target the person? I mean, what are they after that you see?
If you don't adhere to their thoughts and their beliefs,
And
then you're their enemy.
And pay them homage?
Oh, you have to.
And if you don't,
You have to kiss their butts, or they just you are their enemy. And
where does their
I'm one
power,
of-
where does
I'm-
their power come from in your mind?
hard work. This is what they do.
They outwork everybody else.
You and I, the average guy, just goes and says, "That's a good idea. I'll support that. Here's a check."
Yeah.
These people go door to door. They have this little base group of hateful people. They are.
Did they
I've seen
try to
them-
beat
I see them in
you?
court. I see them in court. Here's the way they go. They sit there going, in commissioner's court.
Right, and that is about the budget and money?
Everything, anything to do with somebody they don't like. Do you remember Smith Reynolds?
Oh, yeah. He was a mayor.
He was a mayor. Many years ago, Smith Reynolds came to the commissioner's court. Bubbles, Joanne Fleming, and Sharon Emmett were on the court. So it was always a 3-2 vote. Always.
And Joanne was not on the county commissioner's court.
Yes.
She was?
Yes, she was a county commissioner.
At that time?
Yes. So I think she was on it. One of the two was
Sharon
on it.
Emmert was on it
Yeah.
first.
Yes, she was. And maybe it was just Sharon. Anyway, Smith Reynolds came in. This is so funny. He says, "I have a project for the county and the city to work on together. But before we talk about it, I just want you to know that there's a group of people here today belong to the organization called CAVE. That stands for Citizens Against Virtually Everything." And he said, "I expect them to vote against it," which they did. And he said, "But we need to pass that." Well, the court passed it, thank goodness. But that pretty much explains their little organization. It's Citizens Against Virtually Everything. If you don't adhere to their ways of thinking, then you're their enemy. You're the enemy of the people. And they really believe that.
Not because it's not a good idea, but because you say you don't do what they say, or you.
Oh, of course. Oh, they just, if they dislike you, they hate you. There's no in between.
And you're a bad person.
Oh,
and
there's no in between. And they will do anything to destroy you. And so that little organization is responsible for a lot of my investigations, especially Sharon Emmert.
You know, it's funny that people that you would think could have in Smith County a more, Christian approach, right? That's kind of the foundation behind what they're pushing or they're for, and the tactics that you're describing don't seem to be consistent with that.
Oh, well, they jump behind this. Don't get me started on this group. They're probably one of the worst organizations in this community that are so negative. And I don't spend my time with negative human beings.
Right. I mean, you would think, we're all citizens of either Tyler and or Smith County, right? I mean, and you want what's good for the county. And sometimes you have to spend some money in places to improve quality of life, infrastructure, whatever, right? I mean, and Don Warren was on this show, the mayor, and he talked about how difficult and how against things some people were.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever really have to have the budget battle as the sheriff?
Every year. Every year.
Every
year.
What, did you have to go into the commissioner's court with?
Yes.
Did you prepare a budget yourself?
Every year.
Maybe you said, hey, some of the squad cars are, 20 years old. We got to get some new ones.
I had squad cars with 250,000 miles on them. We couldn't buy tires.
That's 250,000 miles?
Yeah. we couldn't buy tires at a certain time. I remember doing one crunch. We had Wilton Fair bought gasoline for one of my patrol cars. That's how bad we were.
What about, Larry Smith, he seems to navigate this pretty well, but seems to kind of be faced with the same kind of budgetary constraints. Is he, I mean, what do you think about Larry? I mean, do you like Larry? Is he a good sheriff? I mean, what do you think about Larry?
Larry has done a good job, but Larry is a micromanager, which is entirely different than me.
That's not your style, was it?
Teddy Roosevelt said in 1901, a smart administrator surrounds himself with intelligent people, point them in the direction you want them to go, and then to leave them alone. I did. I surrounded myself with real good people that could solve murder cases, with people that could do certain things. And I put those people in specialized positions and where they were happy. And let me tell you something. I had to run them off at night. They wouldn't want to go home. They wanted to stay and work because they loved their job so much. I had an entirely different way that I ran things. Now, Larry has been very efficient, and this is the way law enforcement is today.
And it's a product of his environment. Like,
Yes.
right, he's being micromanaged himself.
I could not be the sheriff today. I could.
Larry has to worry about some political issue exploding out of.
But he doesn't have a newspaper.
Yeah,
He doesn't have investigative reporters. The KLTV, KYT, actually KTK, they don't have investigative reporters. They're not a proactive organization. They're reactive organizations.
Right. Nobody's actually, doing an inside expose on the Smith County Sheriff's Department.
No, not like me. I had two.
It's coming from those that look at the budgets for the Commissioner's Court.
Yes.
That's really where the investigating is being done now.
Yes. And Larry has he has an outstanding group of people working for him. He's got a couple of 3 chiefs now that are just doing outstanding jobs.
I just didn't know if you were the former sheriff, and
No.
and he won after you, didn't he?
Yes. I didn't run again, and he ran and won. And Larry he comes from a federal background.
He's got an ATF background.
Yes. Uh-huh.
People use that against him in the campaign.
Yes,
I remember,
they did.
he's a Fed. He's going to listen to the Feds. That kind of. I remember that.
That didn't happen. Larry has been a very good sheriff. He's been a big supporter of the community. But he's not, we just had 2 different personalities. I'm one of those guys, I'm going, hey, I'm out there with them. And I went to everything from baptisms to goat ropings. I went to anything moving because I wanted them to know who J.B. Smith is. This thing has gotten so big, Larry can't do that because the county's so big.
And there's so many things going on.
He can't do that.
There was a time I remember when I was younger that, I thought Jack Skeen was at every funeral that happened.
It was. So was I.
Yeah. Right? You say, I didn't know he knew him. It's almost like that was the way y'all did things.
Yes. But because we belong to the public.
Yeah.
See, that's what I tell these guys that are constables and justice of the peace. I say, listen, you're working for the people. They approve you every 4 years, but you don't. I had a guy ask me one time, he said, well, the election's over. It's been a whole week. What you going to do when you're running for re-election? I said, today. I start today, not 3 months before the election.
With the paper, you had to be that way.
Oh, I had to be. It was a very defensive mode. But let me tell you, Chad, it made a hell of a man out of me. I think it did, because I've managed to withstand a lot of trauma due to that newspaper. If I ever had a reason to absolutely despise and hate and retaliate, it'd be against the Tyler Morning Telegraph, the Clyde family itself.
It's hard to take that kind of mistreatment and criticism in your mind.
Yes.
And it does have an effect because people are people, right? You do have a heart, and you get your feelings hurt.
I had a family. I had 2 sons that had to live under the scrutiny and had to go to school when the newspaper were accusing me of doing this and doing that. They took abuse because of me.
Yeah, your family gets downplayed a lot of time. You don't hear much about it, probably because, you don't want people to know that are ugly that might be ugly to them when they were growing up.
And they were. They were ugly to my 2 sons. Now they just shoved it off and said, it's okay. I'd talk to them, take them out to the farm, and we'd laugh and joke and try. I got to do some.
The farm where you had the prison labor working?
No. Yeah, I got accused of that more than once.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I said. You had the prison labor out at the farm, they said. But you never got charged with that, did you?
No, because it never happened. And
so, literally, rumors can take on a life of their own. And in your case,
Okay.
You don't even know what people are
one.
believing.
I got one for you. Public's going to love this. 3 weeks ago, I was in Walmart at 155 and Earl Campbell Parkway. And it's not uncommon for people to still recognize me because I was so visible. And a guy walks up to me. He says, "Hey, Sheriff, how you doing?" I said, "I'm doing good. How are you doing?" "Oh, man, you still own that place on 155? I said, "What are you talking about?" I didn't say what he's talking about. I just knew exactly what he's talking about.
Time out. We heard
Time
you
out.
own Time Out.
Everybody thinks that I
J.B.
own...
Smith was the private owner of Time Out.
Now, let me tell you the reason for
Sheriff, when are you going to open it back up?
Let me tell you the reason for that. Every club in that period of time that had any sexually oriented club had to be inspected by the sheriff or his designee.
And
did
you go over there yourself a few times?
No, I sent deputies. but what happened is my name's on the license.
Okay. So people go, "Hey, JB."
My name was on every license of every sexually oriented club in Smith County, inside the city or out.
I don't think there's any left now, are there?
No, I don't think there's any left anymore.
Except for maybe, fast action bail bonds. Remember Travis Seeley?
Yeah. He just died recently.
I didn't know that. I mean, I knew my dad knew him, and I knew him, and that led to Gordon Anders. Remember Gordon?
Oh, yeah. And boy, that's going way back. I walked in one night. I walked into his. He had, what was it called? Out on Highway 31 is on the right-hand side.
The Midnight Lace.
Yes. And so Travis called me.
I've heard it's out there. I had to buy that.
Travis called me and said, Hey, Sheriff, come on by and see me tonight when you headed out of town or whatever you're doing. I said, "Okay, I'll stop by and see you." Well, I'd never been in the place.
You didn't know what it was?
Yeah, I knew it was a strip joint. So I walk in, and just inside the door to the left, I realized there was somebody right next to me. And I turned really quick to the left, and there's this vagina staring me in the face. And I'm going, "What?" And I jump back.
Is it a lady?
Yeah, she's on stage.
Oh.
And she's already stripped.
Oh, okay.
And the guys and I'm going, "What the hell?" And scared me half to death.
I think they were totally nude out there.
They were totally nude.
Bring your own beer.
It was BYOB because that gave them an opportunity to go around the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission.
Right. They wouldn't come inspect them.
No. If there's no alcohol being sold, then the TABC has no business in there.
That's where the law drove them into a worse place.
Sure.
Right?
Yes. And so, but it scared me. And I told Travis, I said, "Don't you ever do that to me again. I can't come in a place like this." And he got to laughing. We thought it was funny at the time.
Yeah.
But my name is on that license, or was on that license, because I had to approve the license. That's how the rumors got started.
I mean, a lot of things have changed like that. It was, law enforcement was, tighter knit, good old boys, if you will.
Yeah.
I mentioned Gordon Anders. And, the story, I mean, of course, you probably don't remember me then, but I remember when Gordon retired, and he had his retirement out at the Midnight Lace during the day. And I was out there. My dad carried me out there. There wasn't any dancers going on. They just used that because Travis and they were joking, like, whenever there would be a TABC raid, the officers be running after the people, and they'd say, "Gordon, get the beer."
Yeah, he confiscated all that. When my first year in office in 1977, they had a party for the boys. It was just a bunch of law enforcement officers getting together at the pecan orchard out on 155.
I mean, they'd have crawfish bowls.
Oh,
beer,
yeah, all
everything.
beer. Yeah. And Gordon drove up with about 25 cases of confiscated beer.
Different kinds.
But again, you can't compare 1977 to 2025. You just can't do it.
And it just seemed more fun, though.
Oh, we had a ball back in those days.
I mean, people don't seem as fun nowadays, but I guess they can't be because
law enforcement doesn't have a good time today like we had.
Right.
We had a good time. There was, listen, I've made lots of money speaking over the years, laughing about law enforcement and the way it was. The funny stories that happened, the stuff that could never happen in today's society, because everything changes. And I think it's changed for the good, a lot of it.
But it's still funny
It's still
that it
funny.
happened, right?
Oh my gosh. I had so many things happen that was absolutely hilarious.
Well, let's talk about your the speaking engagement that start when you're the sheriff, and then it kind of works into your time after that, doesn't it?
What I did,
How'd you get into it? How do you get into a speaking as a speaker that gets called to go give speeches for money?
1972. I can tell you the exact
Marvin
year.
Methodist Church.
No, it
Not
was
that one.
I was promoted in the detective division, and I was working juvenile and a bunch of other stuff because they combined a lot of things, and I had to work them. There was a captain named by the name of George Buckner. George Buckner was a very wealthy man that owned rose fields, cattle, but he was a very unassuming, quiet man. He took a liking to me, and they organized a new division called the Crime Prevention Division. And this is going out in the public and teaching people how to prevent crime, how to lighten the target for a potential victim. Like what to do if you have a flat tire of a lady. How do you prevent prowlers? How do you prevent burglars? We found out the majority of those things could have been prevented had they used common sense and crime prevention methods.
And that's the talk you gave to the Methodist Church.
To all of them, yes. And to everybody. I went out all over Tyler. This is what made me popular in the community, is I gave speeches. Well, I started putting a little humor with the speeches. Nothing corny. Just little humor here.
But you could work on your routine as you went out and gave another one.
Yes, because they were freebies.
Right.
I mean, I'd do Seroptimus, Optimus, Rotary Clubs, Kiwanis Clubs, Lions Clubs. I did garden clubs.
I mean, this was marketing back then.
Of course, but I didn't know it. I didn't know that. But I was having a good time because none of the other guys wanted to be. They wanted to be real cops.
Right.
You know,
serious. You got to be serious to be good.
Detection, apprehension, prosecution. I said, hell, I'm having a good time. Shit, this is fun. So I'm out having a ball, and these guys were kind of jealous of me, because I was getting very popular. Well, I was getting a lot of programs because I got better, and I got better, and I got better. And I was smart enough to know, don't get an ego so big that you think you're a star. You better hewn this. You put it together, structure it, make it professional as you can. But I didn't realize that was what I was doing. But I was doing that.
You were sharpening your skills.
Yes, and I didn't even realize it at the time.
When's the first speech that you gave you can remember where somebody paid you? I mean, when did you realize, hey, I can do this and make a living in some way?
I don't know what point in time I did that. I realized I was told, someone with the National Speakers Association heard me one time and said, hey, you're pretty doggone good. And I said, well, thank you. And he told me about the National Speakers Association. So I went to it in Dallas at their first meeting, and I joined, and that's been probably 35, 40 years ago.
And you could give speeches while you were the sheriff, and not be any conflict of interest?
None.
When you went to Dallas, did you find an agent or someone who could help place you in places across the country or outside of Texas?
Chad, there are things called speakers bureaus. These are people that do nothing but hire professional speakers. Bill Clinton gets $125,000 for 1 hour. That used to be the highest paid speaker.
I mean, I remember when Ronald Reagan left office, he gave a speech for $1 million somewhere over in Japan.
Oh, yeah.
But this organization that sets up these things,
they don't book you. They just teach you your skills. They don't take you and teach you how to speak. You got to know how to speak before you ever get there.
What do they offer you then?
More education in the speaking business. There's more to the speaking business than just
stories and timing and certain things about.
It's a performance.
Yes. Okay.
My speeches when I go out to perform to speak is nothing more than a performance.
Right.
Every story
you're putting on a show.
You are, and you better be good at it if you're going to get paid. You got to be good at it. If you don't, you take the money and run.
But like a stand-up comedian, you learn in front of an audience what works and what doesn't work.
You betcha.
I mean, you can see it and feel a dud, can't you?
And there are dead audiences. I mean, you know who the worst is in I'm sorry, but I got to tell you, the worst audiences?
Yes.
doctors and lawyers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt it. They're not funny.
They look at you and they, oh, no, I can't laugh. You're not one of us.
Yeah.
Especially doctors.
Yeah, no.
And I mean,
I got to agree with you on that.
You got to get rank with doctors. You got to get rank. With the Navy SEALs.
I mean, you get risque, don't you? That's what you call it.
I call it risque.
You get risque.
The first speech I gave for the Navy SEALs, this group had just gotten back from 8 months in Afghanistan. And I was hired on a federal grant. And so I thought, okay, I gave my Texas cowboy sheriff's speech, clean, no profanity, no sexual innuendos, no nothing.
That wasn't raw enough.
Listen, they didn't laugh, Chad. They didn't laugh. So I went over to the girl that hired me and I said, hey, I'll just give you your money back, okay? I don't need the
So
money.
you did the speech. It was over, and you're over here talking to the person that's
I told her, I
hired.
said, take your money back. I don't need your money, okay? Take the money. She said, no. But Sheriff, you got to understand, these guys have been in a foxhole for 8 months. You can get a little more risque. And I said, well, you're going to have to draw the line, okay? Well, you can't use the F-bomb. I said, you mean fart? Because if you're talking about that other, I forgot which armpit it's under. She said, you can do that kind of stuff. I put together a 45-minute program on prostate exams and passing gas.
After that show?
Yes.
You didn't deliver it to them.
No. Got a standing ovation every time afterwards.
But I mean, give us some highlights. Passing gas and what was the other one?
All right. Farting and prostate exams.
Prostate exams and cutting the cheese.
Yes. A Navy SEAL has to go through a prostate exam. It doesn't matter, make any difference. They're 18 or 25, okay? It's an every year thing it used to be. I don't know about now, but it had to be for Navy SEALs. The old finger wave.
Right. Blue River, Moon River. Remember Fletch?
Yes. So
Moon River.
So I put together that program about prostate exams and about how I had my doctor, I'd say a little soft music and I need candles. And I need you, when you get through with this, you're going to have to kiss me on the back of the neck, okay? Because I'm not used to this. And so I did that for about 30 minutes, building up the scene. And then after the exam, when you've got KY shoved up you.
That would be jelly for those that don't know.
Yes. And you want to know, how do I get my masculinity back? It's by a good old healthy fart. That's what a real man does. That's what a real man does. And so I'm headed back to my truck and I'm thinking, oh God, I feel like I've been violated. So I get in my truck and I'm working on this healthy fart. So I grabbed the steering wheel and I'm thinking, this is going to be a gut blaster. This is going to be a good one. So
you were white-knuckling the steering wheel.
I cranked over and I gritted and I pumped one and it went, and I'm thinking, the hell's wrong with my butt? And I realized I got KY. There's no friction.
Oh.
There's no friction. So there's no sound. But I put this all together for these Navy SEALs. And I got standing ovations. They laughed their butts off. And I had a good time doing it. It's the only time I've ever been able to do stand-up. I didn't use any vulgarity. It was just bodily functions is all I did.
Which truth is funny, right?
It's the truth.
Just like the old law enforcement
And there's going to be people listening to this broadcast now going to say, oh, my God, I'm so offended. Well, get over it. Good God.
Yeah, that's on TV now.
You know, everybody passes gas. If you don't, you're in deep trouble.
Right.
And everybody, men do it all. They pull my finger. You know, they do it.
The older they get.
They never get over it, Chad. They never get over it. But
I mean, surely you had something that added the smell component to the farts in your stand-up.
Oh, we talked about that.
I mean,
woo! Peel paint off the wall, you know. Good God, that'll clap her milk in the refrigerator 40 feet away. I mean, yeah, we did all those little one-liners, but they were fun to do. And looking back, and you know, we've talked a lot about J.B. Smith, okay, and his past and how what a horrible life he had to begin with. I think that humor to this day, that humor has saved me. Saved me.
Do you think it was really an outsource of your tough upbringing?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, everything was funny because you were so used to nothing, right?
I had nothing.
I mean, like you said about going to the barracks 3 meals a day. Hey, this is awesome.
I had a ball.
Yeah, I mean,
Gained weight. I was the only guy in my whole company that gained weight in a boot camp. God, I was having a ball. Life is so good, but life is what you make it. And the people out here that
are negative.
that are negative and hateful, don't you even talk to me. Don't get around me, because I'll step over you and keep on walking. I have no room in my life for negative people. And I have to bring that up oftentimes to my friends. I do it in a nice way. But I say, good God, can't you find something good out there?
Right, because there's something good.
There's a lot of wonderful things going on. We have an East Texas Crisis Center that I have formed. I was co-founder of 42 years ago. Salvation Army has all these programs and stuff now for drug addicts and people with addictions. We have so much help out here for people with addictions now.
Yeah, there wasn't anything.
Nothing.
I mean,
there was nothing.
Basically, safe.
AA in 1976 was AA.
Yeah.
That was it.
That was a 12-step program?
Yes. But Green Acres has been really good at putting programs together for addictions and stuff. A lot of your churches are doing really good stuff.
People's attitudes seem to have changed over the last 30 years from judgment to understanding, compassion, and wanting to help. Does that seem to be how it's been?
Yes, I think it is.
Have you seen that?
But I think the pendulum has swung too far out in freedoms.
There's too much compassion.
Well,
there's too many freedoms.
Let me tell you something. There's jerks that take advantage of that compassion. I saw that time and time again at the Salvation Army. But the Salvation Army is probably the smartest organization in society today when it comes to dealing with addictions and helping people, because they will go through. They know who is sincere and who needs the help and who's just wanting a handout.
But I mean, it's tough. Don't you think? Sometimes people that are addicted to drugs, they're not going to be doing the right things until they tackle that or get some help, right?
Chad, the statement I'm about to make now is probably going to offend somebody, but it's just what I observed in the jailhouse, okay?
I mean, and that's evidence.
But people with addictions will swap addictions. The thing that I saw in the jail, and we called them Bible thumpers. They come in as abusing and being addicted to alcohol, drugs, sex, whatever their addiction was, and they switch addictions. Some of them, the Bible thumping never stayed with them. They left Jesus and they left
When
God
they left
in the jail. Oh yeah, they left God in the jail and went back to whatever it was they were doing. Again, a lot of them. Maybe some, maybe not. I don't know.
It was a coping mechanism.
I have no way of knowing what or who I helped in life. I have no way of knowing that because there's nothing that you can put on paper and say, I helped this guy. But addictions are switched. People do not ever, that I know of, get over an addictive personality. They're going to be addicted to something.
They might shift it to jogging.
They just shift it. They shift it. They can shift it to obsession with my family, which can be tragic in itself. They can shift it to the Bible. They can, but they're going to switch addictions, and it's going to show up within 12 months. Usually, that's what I saw.
You know, before.
And by the way, I'm not right all the time.
No. Well, part of this podcast is it's called East Texas Unfiltered because it involves people that are connected to East Texas in some way, have been here, live here now, like yourself. But also it's unfiltered because it's hopefully a place where people can speak honestly about how they feel, not running for office, not caring exactly what people think. And, that's what we like about you being here and telling us what you've been telling us.
Well, the whole world, and I know that we're getting close to the end here, but there's something I want to emphasize with you. It's something I learned years and years ago, and a guy told me this story, and I said, that makes sense. And then the more I thought about it, the more I realized that it was the truth. Everything in life is about attitude. The whole world is about attitude. And you can take that from a child all the way to a guy my age at 82 years old. All of life is in attitude. Your success, attitude. You can be lucky and inherit $1 million, okay? But the guy that made it on their own is all about attitude. Woman or man.
Can do. And
you can do this. And I'm not trying to pump up the public that's listening to me. Take the word attitude, attitude. Write it down on a piece of paper. The letter A is the first word in the alphabet. You agree with that?
I do.
T's number 20. Second T is number 20. A-T-T-I is number 9. U is number 21. You pull all of those out.
What are they?
It's the only word in the English language that comes out to 100%.
All right. That's interesting.
Bottom line, all of life.
Chris, can you check that number?
A-T-T-I-T-U-D-E. You check it out. I promise you I have numerous times.
Now, you seem to have a creative side because you'd have to in order to, improve your speeches, turn it into comedic routines, but you've also written a couple of books. Tell us about, how you decided to write a book.
In the National Speakers Association, they tell you need a book.
Oh.
That this is something.
It helps because they can introduce you. J.B. Smith, the author of two books. Right.
Now, surprisingly enough, both of those books have sold a bunch over the years from the back of the room. And
at the speaking engagement.
At your speaking engagement, because they want to take something home with you, with themselves as part of you. These books that I wrote are about murder, true life, real crime. There's no humor in it except for a little tidbit every now and then. But one of them is called The Unholy Ghost Murder, and that was the preacher that killed his wife down in Troop.
Okay, these are all Smith County.
Oh, yeah. Every one of them was ones I worked.
Investigated.
I worked 130. I was responsible for 136, 138 murder cases in 36 years. Again, I did not personally work these murder cases, but I was aware of those.
You're the sheriff.
I couldn't. There's no way I could do those by myself. But I hired good people. But these were two that stood out to me. Then we had a 16-year-old girl in Chapel Hill that killed her mother and daddy on Christmas Eve. Had not been abused. She was just a psychopath. And she was hooked up with a drug dealer, and they killed their mother and father for $70,000, her mother and dad, for the insurance money.
Do you think it was drug addicted related? You think it's straight psychopath?
Psychopath.
Because now, as I understand psychopath, it's a scientific term that means a person without empathy, right?
A psychopath has multiple personalities, and there's different levels of psychopaths. Some of us being a psychopath shows up with in the younger years by them torturing little animals or killing little animals.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Jeffrey Dahmer is a good example of that. You meet him in public. He's a nice guy. He's a good-looking man. You know the mistake people make, because watching television, you think, oh, that's the villain. You know who the villain is immediately, right? It's not that way in society.
Ted Bundy, good-looking man. He didn't have to rape and murder a woman. He was a good-looking man. Yeah. Women were beating their way to his door. Yeah, it was something inside of him.
He was a psychopath. And he was a full-fledged, sick psychopath. My mother was a level psychopath, but way down, because she had no conscience.
And there's no telling what happened to her when she was raised.
Yeah, right? You don't know. I don't know what happened to her.
Right, I mean,
she could have been abused by my grandfather. I don't know that.
Product of her environment.
Could have been. I have no way of knowing anything about that because she never talked about it. But my mother was a very low-grade psychopath that could do these horrible things and justify it. Look you in the eye and convince you that it was okay. It was all right. And, that's just, I think I learned a lot by watching her and judging people later on in my life as to how they reacted. And it's paid off for me.
Do you think that you had a heightened sense of awareness of people because of what you grew up with?
Yes.
I mean, paying attention to the details from the change in their personality
of course.
From moment to moment.
Of course. It was self-preservation for me from the time I could breathe because of an abusive stepfather who beat me with sticks and drunk every day. I mean, I learned to survive by myself because my mother wouldn't protect me. I had a horrible, horrible childhood. I mean, by all means, I should be mentally ill today, and maybe I am, but I think I covered some of it up with humor, and that's how it's an ego defense mechanism, Chad.
I think it is.
That's what it is, ego defense mechanism.
What about the hypnotism? You are documented to have some skill in hypnotism as well as an auctioneer, but the hypnotism, where did the interest in that come from? Was it related to this?
Okay. The bottom line, it was something new that nobody else could do.
All right. I loved it. You like being a pioneer?
Oh, I love it. I love it.
First sheriff to be educated,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I mean, I'm the first sheriff to go around and speak to everybody.
Yes.
You saw hypnotism came out.
Hypnosis, forensic hypnosis.
Right,
There's a
because
difference in theatrical hypnosis and forensic hypnosis.
we're talking about forensic hypnosis.
Chad, all
You're
that
not
is
going to a show.
no. And let me tell the public that's watching this right now. You can't make anybody do anything they don't want to do, period.
Even with hypnosis.
You can't make anybody do. I have 80 hours classroom, 2 weeks of going clinical hypnosis and forensic hypnosis.
What's the point or purpose of hypnosis?
Hypnosis
forensic?
is nothing more than a heightened state of mental awareness and a very deep state of total physical relaxation. That's all it is.
I mean, they try to use it to get people to remember abuses in the past.
And you can.
I mean,
But what you have to do is you have to shut down the conscious mind. You shut it down. And you do that with getting them to listen to you talk to them. As you talk to them, you tell them what you want them to do, and then you tell them up front, if you don't listen to me and you don't follow my instructions, I can't help you. And I did that hundreds of times. And I loved helping people, but it got to be too much because, hell, I had people coming out of Jacksonville wanting me to help them quit smoking. I mean, come on. I don't have time for that.
I mean, were you doing this in the law enforcement arena?
Yes.
And that's really...
Yes.
Were any of your people at the sheriff's department, utilizing this technique to help witnesses remember?
Yes,
or is
that's
that
correct.
That's why you were doing
license plate numbers, the abuse, because oftentimes, and I know this because of myself, that you block out a lot of trauma in your life. You block it out.
Right.
You don't bring it back up again. There was things in my life that I just don't want to see again. And so I managed to shut it down. Again, defensive mechanism. But hypnosis is being able to get you to totally, physically, and mentally relax by listening to me and letting me talk to you and just have you follow my instructions. If you follow my instructions, we're going to shut that conscious mind down and bring up the subconscious that's got all of those memories, because that subconscious mind has filed. It has a file that goes all the way back to the day you were born. I mean,
Is this psychology and science that was a part of this 80 hours that you learned about?
Oh, yes, and I loved every second of it because it was something all new. I've always enjoyed challenges.
And learning something.
Learning, of course, learning. I have never slowed down in doing that. I'm still doing it today.
Do you think it has anything to do with, being insecure initially that you only had an 8th grade education and wanting to prove to somebody that I'm just as smart as anybody out here?
Let me tell you something. J.B. Smith is nothing but an 8th grade contractor boy to this day, even though I have a bachelor's degree from the University of Texas. I'm a graduate of the National FBI Academy. I barely made it through that academy. Barely. Because it was hard. I'm talking about the literary stuff. I'm talking about the tests. They were hard. And this old country boy wasn't educated. I had a hard time at the FBI Academy. But I managed to get through it. I always have. I managed to get through it. Sometimes barely making it. But my diploma from the University of Texas doesn't say
barely.
This ass barely made it.
Right.
It says graduate. and it was just like when you get to the auctioneering part. It was something nobody else was doing. And I walked into, have we got time for this story?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, give me a story about the auctioneer, because it's just another part of your life that, is not something that most people know about or have ever done.
Yeah. And by the way, I never charged for hypnosis, and I've never charged. I only been paid one time for being an auctioneer.
Usually that was probably at a cattle barons or some type of charitable event.
Yeah, I volunteered for every charitable event that I could go. The only time I've been paid was by Larry Hagman off of Dallas, and I sold one of his horses for $250,000 at an auction in Dallas. I had just worked a horrible murder case. I didn't work it. I just was there at the scene. My deputies worked it where a baby was murdered, a little child. And it was just really tearing me down. I mean, it just, it can screw you up.
Do you ever, like a DPS trooper gets used to coming to the scene of a car crash or people are killed, do you ever build kind of a tolerance to seeing that type of stuff?
I never built a tolerance to it. I just have this tendency to be able to shut it down. Yeah. I don't know how I did that.
Because you got to leave the scene and go home or go somewhere else, and you've just seen a baby killed.
Oh, yeah. And so I left town that night after the murder, because I had
Headed
to
to
go
the
away.
Rio.
Well, I was going to dance in Fort Worth. I had a girlfriend up there, and I was going to go see her and go dancing and get this off my mind. Well, I get up there and I'm crashing. I mean, I'm mentally just crashing. So there was this little auction going on in downtown Fort Worth at this little side building. It's been many years ago. I decided I'm going to go in here, and they were having a estate sale or something. I go in, and this guy up front is going, well, all right, now, what are you going to give for? Be able to buy me now 25 and now 530, 30, 35, 535. And I said, whoa, man, that is a beautiful art. And he said, afterwards we was talking, he said, that's not an art, cowboy. He said, that's nothing more than just repetition, repetition, repetition. And it just so happened that he had just graduated from the Dallas Auctioneers Academy. I said, I want to learn that.
Don't tell me you went there.
I went to the Dallas Auctioneers Academy, and I graduated, and but it took a number of years. The auction business, Chad, is not just the chant. You know, they teach you the chant.
Right.
Tommy a tattles took 2 T's, tied him to top of 2 tall trees. 67, Mississippi, 1666. Around the rough and rugged rock, the ragged rascal ran. And the Betty Botter story. Betty Botter wasn't butter, but she said this butter's bitter. If I put it in batter, make my batter better. So she bought a better, butter. Put it in a bitter batter, made her better, better. So it's better than Betty Botter bought a better, butter. And you learn these things.
Sold.
Sold. And you learn this, but that's just one little part of the auction business. There's a whole world around that chant that you have to come up with. It takes days to put an auction together. There's paperwork. But I enjoyed it because I don't do any of that paperwork. I do nonprofit organizations.
You're
and
right.
It's helping people. It's giving back. My philosophy is that this community gave me a job for 42 years. I give back.
Well, you've certainly give the community a lot of things, and I think this is fitting that we kind of close on this. I saw just last month, your portrait was hung in Smith County, right? There was a ceremony to honor you, and your picture was put up, I guess,
In the sheriff's office.
In the sheriff's office. You know, I guess finally thanking you, or is this something that normally occurs for sheriffs, or how did this whole thing come about for you?
Many years ago, again, I'm doing things differently. Okay, I'm just noted for that. I realized that I went and did research at the Smith County Historical Society, and I got all the sheriffs all the way back to the first one in 1847. Some of them there were pictures of in the late 1800s. So I got their pictures, had them blown up using drug money that we confiscated off the interstate, had them blown up into big pictures.
While you were sheriff?
Yes. And I had those framed and hung in the hallways at the new office where we moved into before I retired. And people love to come in and see those pictures dating back to the 1800s.
It's history.
Yes.
It's like a museum.
Yes. And so when I retired, they said, well, have your picture made and hang it here. And I said, oh, no, I ain't going to do that. And I just thought it was too big of an ego thing. So I didn't. Well, 12 years later, I decided.
Hey, I want to hang my picture.
Because I'm old. I know that, Chad. You know, and I know.
You're 82.
I'm 82.
And you look good.
Well, I feel good, but I have lots of problems. And I had open heart surgery here a while back. I have other problems. It just happens to you. I'm a volunteer at hospice, so I understand death.
Right. I mean,
and I dealt with it weekly.
It's going
to happen.
That's a front row seat to death every day.
The important thing to me is what kind of legacy you're going to leave society. What are you going to leave? And I wanted to leave a very positive relationship, a positive legacy for this community that I served for 42 years with Tyler PD, all of them combined.
Well, I think you have, and I think it's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on here, and I appreciate it. I thought it would be nice to have a documented conversation of your legacy with the person in his own words, and you've given us that here today, and I appreciate it, and thanks for being on the show, Sheriff.
Hey. There's a million stories out there, and thank you for interviewing people to do that. Get in depth with them. I mean, there's just so much. There's a lot of people in this community that have contributed so much, and they're quiet.
Right, and I'm going to try to find them one by one and explore their stories with their connection to, Tyler, East Texas, and hopefully people will find it interesting.
Yeah, and I'm going to go have a margarita.
All right, let's go.